The security feed flickered across Commander Thex's 6 visual receptors as he reviewed the morning patrol reports from Sector 7. Another boring rotation on this backwater planet the humans called Earth. Nothing ever happened in the Amazon region. Just trees, humidity that made his exoskeleton itch, and the occasional curious primate. Then Patrol Unit 14 went silent. Thex to Unit 14. Report status. He tapped the communications panel with one of his smaller appendages, careful not to crack the screen again. The Galactic Council would dock his pay if he broke another one. Static. Then a voice, Corporal Vin's voice, breathing heavy through the comlink. Sir, you need to see this. Coordinates uploading now. Bring the medical team. And maybe someone who understands humans better than we do. Thex felt his secondary heart skip a beat. In 15 years of service, Vin had never sounded uncertain about anything. The Krillian had once stared down a charging Earth creature called a rhinoceros without flinching. What could possibly rattle him? 20 minutes later, Thex's transport settled into a small clearing, the downdraft sending leaves and branches whipping in every direction. He stepped out, his boots sinking slightly into the mud, and immediately understood why Vin had called him personally. There was a human child. Couldn't have been more than 5 or 6 years old by human standards. Male, probably. Dirty. Covered in scratches. Wearing torn remnants of what might have once been clothing. The kid sat on a fallen log, completely calm, eating what appeared to be wild berries. That wasn't the weird part. The weird part was the honey badger. Thex had studied Earth fauna extensively during his assignment prep. Honey badgers, despite their deceptively cute name, ranked somewhere between absolutely insane and certifiably psychotic on the danger scale. The humans had videos, memes, entire cultural references dedicated to the fact that honey badgers simply did not care about anything. They fought lions, they ate cobras, they broke into human dwellings just to prove a point. This particular honey badger sat directly in front of the child, positioned like a guard, like a very small, very furry, very deadly soldier. We tried to approach 3 times, Vin reported, his voice low. His scales had shifted to a nervous blue-gray color. That thing attacked Jensen. Bit clean through his glove. Medical is treating him now for potential infection and psychological trauma. Psychological trauma? Thex asked. It made eye contact while it did it, sir. Didn't break stare. Just bit him and held on until he backed away. Lieutenant Kora, their human liaison, pushed past them both. She was tall, dark-skinned, with her hair pulled back in the tight configuration humans called a bun. She'd been assigned to their unit 6 months ago, and Thex had learned quickly that she possessed that peculiar human quality of being both extremely intelligent and completely reckless. That's Tyler Brennan, she said, her voice catching slightly. Went missing 4 days ago during a research expedition. His parents are scientists stationed at the conservation camp 15 kilometers west. Search parties have been looking everywhere. She started forward. The honey badger's head snapped in her direction. It made a sound. Not a hiss, not a growl. Something worse. Something that suggested it had fought entire ecosystems in one. Kora stopped. Okay then. So we have a situation. The child seems healthy, observed Vin, zooming in with his ocular implants. No signs of severe distress. He's eating, appears hydrated. But he won't respond to any of our calls. We tried his native language, tried basic gestures, tried everything. Thex watched as the child, Tyler, carefully selected another berry from his small pile. The honey badger's head swiveled to watch the boy's hand movement, then snapped back to face the assembled group of aliens and humans. Protecting. Definitely protecting. This is impossible, Kora muttered. Honey badgers are solitary, aggressive. They don't adopt human children. They don't protect anything except their territory and maybe their own young. This doesn't make biological sense. Nothing about this planet makes biological sense, Thex replied. I've been here long enough to learn that lesson. Your species befriends wolves, domesticates cats that clearly hate you, and keeps venomous creatures as pets. Why should this surprise us? Because honey badgers aren't dogs, Kora snapped. They're not cats. They're forces of nature with teeth and bad attitudes. As if to punctuate her point, The honey badger suddenly charged forward 5 meters. Everyone jumped back. The creature stopped, satisfied it had made its point, and returned to its position in front of Tyler. The boy hasn't even flinched, Vin noted. He trusts it completely. Thex initiated a wider scan of the area. His equipment picked up the usual thermal signatures of rainforest life: birds, insects, several small mammals, one moderately large snake that was wisely moving in the opposite direction. But something else caught his attention. There, he said, highlighting a section of disturbed earth near a massive tree root system. Recent activity. Something large has been through here repeatedly. Ground is compressed in a pattern suggesting regular travel. Kora moved to investigate, giving the honey badger a wide berth. She knelt, examined the traces, touched the soil. Her expression shifted through several human emotions that Thex had learned to recognize: confusion, realization, disbelief. Jaguar, she said quietly. These are jaguar tracks. Fresh, very fresh, and there's blood. Not human blood, animal blood. She stood, turned to face the group. I think I understand what happened. Tyler got separated from his parents' group, got lost in the jungle. He's small, vulnerable, perfect prey. The jaguar found him. And the honey badger found the jaguar. Thex finished. They all looked at the small creature, still sitting guard, still radiating an aura of absolute commitment to violence if necessary. Honey badgers fight predators regularly, Kora continued, her voice gaining confidence as she worked through the logic. It's what they do. They're fearless. Stupid fearless. This one probably encountered the jaguar attempting to attack Tyler, and did what honey badgers do best. It fought. And somehow in the process, it bonded with the kid. Or the kid bonded with it, Vin suggested. Human children are known to form attachments rapidly, especially in trauma situations. Stockholm Syndrome, but with animals. That's not how Stockholm Syndrome works, Kora said. Isn't it though? Thex held up an appendage for silence. Tyler had stopped eating. The boy was looking directly at them now. Not afraid. Exactly. Just watching. Evaluating. His hand rested on the honey badger's back, fingers buried in fur. We need to extract him, Thex said. His parents are desperate. The longer he stays out here, the greater the risk of infection, injury, or worse. But that creature won't let us near him. Can we tranquilize it? Vin asked. Absolutely not, Kora said immediately. First, honey badgers are notoriously difficult to tranquilize. They have incredible metabolisms. Second, if we attack its friend, Tyler might never trust us. He's already been through trauma. We can't compound it. So, what do you suggest? Kora thought for a moment. Then she did something that made every non-human in the clearing question her sanity. She sat down, cross-legged, on the muddy ground, about 10 meters from the honey badger, and she started talking. Hey Tyler, she called out, her voice gentle. My name is Lieutenant Kora Davis. I work with your mom and dad. They've been really worried about you. They asked me to come find you and bring you home. The boy tilted his head, listening. The honey badger remained locked in threat posture. That's a pretty cool friend you've got there, Kora continued. I bet he protected you, didn't he? Kept you safe when you were scared. That's what friends do. They help us when we need it. Tyler's hand moved, stroking the honey badger's fur. The creature's aggressive stance softened slightly. Slightly. Your friend is very brave, Kora said. Very strong. But you know what? Your mom and dad are waiting for you. They miss you so much. They want to make sure you're okay, give you a bath, get you some real food. Pizza, maybe. Do you like pizza? A flicker of response. Tyler's eyes brightened at the mention of pizza. Thex watched in fascination. This was classic human strategy. Appeal to emotion, establish common ground, build trust gradually. It was why humans made such effective diplomats despite being relatively new to galactic society. They understood connection in ways most species didn't. I'm not going to hurt your friend, Kora promised. I respect him. He did an amazing job keeping you safe. But it's time to go home now. Your friend will be okay. He'll go back to his life, and you'll go back to yours. But you'll always remember him, won't you? You'll remember the honey badger who saved you. Tyler stood up. The honey badger immediately tensed, but the boy's hand remained on its back, reassuring. Mama? Tyler said. His first word. Small, uncertain, hopeful. Yes, Kora said, smiling. Mama, she's waiting. Let me take you to her. Thex prepared to intervene if necessary. This could go wrong in approximately 17 different ways. The honey badger could attack. The child could panic. The local wildlife could choose this moment to interfere. Tyler took a step forward. The honey badger moved with him, still guarding. Another step. The honey badger made a sound. Different this time. Not aggressive. Almost questioning. Tyler knelt down. He wrapped his arms around the creature. Buried his face in its fur. Thex's translation software couldn't process the words, but the tone was clear. Gratitude. Affection. Goodbye. The honey badger stood still for the embrace. Let it happen. Then, when Tyler released him and stood, the animal did something that would puzzle xenobiologists for years afterward. It stepped back, sat down, and simply watched as Tyler walked slowly toward Kora. The boy made it 5 meters. 7, 10. Kora stood carefully, extended her hand. Tyler took it. The honey badger made one last sound. Not a threat. A acknowledgement. Then it turned and disappeared into the underbrush with the kind of silent efficiency that reminded everyone why these creatures had earned their fearsome reputation. Kora scooped Tyler into her arms. The boy was crying now, the shock finally breaking through whatever survival instincts had kept him functional. She held him close, murmuring reassurances, already walking toward the transport. Thex watched the spot where the honey badger had vanished. Extraordinary, he said softly. Which part? Vin asked. The fact that a notoriously aggressive predator protected a human child, or the fact that it let him go peacefully? Both, Thex replied. All of it. This planet continues to amaze me. Back at base camp, Tyler's reunion with his parents involved enough crying to fill one of Earth's smaller lakes. His mother, Dr. Sarah Brennan, held him so tightly. Thex worried briefly about oxygen deprivation. His father, Dr. Marcus Brennan, kept touching his son's face, his hair, as if confirming reality. The medical team checked Tyler thoroughly. Dehydration, minor scratches, some insect bites, but otherwise remarkably healthy. He'd survived 4 days in one of Earth's most dangerous ecosystems with apparently only a honey badger for company. And somehow, that honey badger had kept him fed, protected, and alive. He keeps talking about his friend, Dr. Sarah Brennan said, wiping tears from her face. He says the badger fought a big cat, says it. It was scary, but the badger made the cat go away. Then it brought him berries and stayed with him at night to keep him warm. Kora nodded. The tracks support that story. There was definitely a jaguar in the area. And we know honey badgers have the territorial aggression to challenge jaguars. It's not common, but it's documented. But why? Marcus asked. Why would it help Tyler? What evolutionary benefit does that serve? Thex had been wondering the same thing. His species, the Quillroth, valued logic and clear causation. Everything had reasons, patterns, predictable outcomes. But humans, and apparently the creatures that shared their world, operated on different principles. Maybe it doesn't need a reason, Kora said quietly. Maybe sometimes, things just happen. Connections form. Bonds create themselves in unexpected moments. Maybe that honey badger saw a vulnerable creature that needed help and decided to help. Maybe it's really that simple. Nothing is ever that simple, Thex argued. On Earth? Kora smiled. Everything is exactly that complicated and that simple at the same time. It's why you'll never truly understand this planet, Commander. It doesn't follow your rules. It makes its own. That night, after Tyler had been fed, bathed, and put to bed with his parents standing guard, Thex filed his report. He stuck to facts, documented observations, included medical data and environmental analysis. But he left out his conclusions. He left out the part where he'd started to understand something about Earth and its inhabitants. This was a planet where wolves became dogs, where cats ruled households despite being perfectly capable predators, where dolphins helped drowning sailors, where unlikely friendships formed across species barriers, where a honey badger, one of nature's most aggressive creatures, could become a protector, where survival sometimes meant cooperation instead of competition, where the rules bent in unexpected directions. As he finished the report, his communications panel blinked. Message from High Command. New assignment orders. He was being transferred to a diplomatic station in the Andromeda sector. Promotion. Better pay. Actual excitement. He declined. Thex had found something more interesting than excitement. He'd found a mystery that couldn't be solved with logic alone, and he intended to stay on Earth until he understood it. Or until it broke his brain trying. Probably the second option, honestly. But that was okay. He was starting to appreciate the value of being surprised. 3 months passed, and Thex found himself doing something he never imagined possible. He was tracking a honey badger. Not just any honey badger. The honey badger. The one the research team had started calling Striker, because according to young Tyler Brennan, that's what the creature did best. Strike first, ask questions never. This is ridiculous, Vin muttered beside him, checking his scanner for the 15th time. We're trained galactic peacekeepers following an animal the size of a human infant through hostile terrain because a child asked us to. Not just any child, Thex corrected. The child who survived 4 days in the Amazon with only that animal for protection. Tyler's parents are leading researchers in interspecies behavioral studies. If they believe this warrants investigation, who are we to argue? I can think of several arguments, actually. Kora pushed through the vegetation ahead, her tracking device beeping steadily. Since the rescue, she'd become obsessed with understanding what had happened. She'd interviewed Tyler dozens of times, consulted with animal behaviorists across 3 continents, and spent weeks reviewing camera trap footage from the area. The footage had revealed something nobody expected. Striker wasn't alone. The honey badger had a mate, an offspring. 2 cubs, maybe 6 months old, learning to hunt and survive in their territory. Camera traps had captured the entire family unit, and more importantly, they'd captured something else. Striker bringing food back to the den. Normal behavior. Striker bringing Tyler to the den. Absolutely not normal behavior. There, Kora whispered, dropping to a crouch. She pointed through the foliage. Thex adjusted his visual receptors, zooming in on the clearing ahead, his breath caught in his primary lung. Striker was there, digging in the earth near a termite mound. But that wasn't what made everyone freeze. His mate was nearby, grooming one of the cubs, and the second cub was wrestling with something. A toy. A small, worn, stuffed animal that Tyler had lost during his ordeal. The cub shook the toy, pounced on it, rolled around with it exactly like any young creature playing. But it was the placement that mattered. The den was here. This was where Striker had brought Tyler, where the honey badger family had lived while protecting a lost human child. By the 3 moons, Vin breathed. He brought Tyler into his home. Not just into his territory, Kora said, her voice thick with emotion. Into his family. Striker introduced Tyler to his mate and cubs. He integrated the boy into the social structure. That's extraordinary. Honey badgers are solitary for most of the year. They only stay together during mating and cub rearing. This den represents the most vulnerable, most protected space in Striker's entire world. And he put a human child in it. Thex finished. Dr. Marcus Brennan, who'd insisted on joining the expedition despite numerous safety concerns, shifted his weight beside them. I've studied animal behavior for 20 years. Cross-species adoption happens occasionally. Dolphins, elephants, certain primates. But always in species with established social structures, high intelligence, strong parental instincts. Honey badgers are aggressive loners. They shouldn't have those instincts. Except this one does, his wife Sarah added quietly. She'd been silent most of the trek, processing emotions that Thex couldn't fully read. My son was dying out here, lost, terrified, probably crying, and something in that cry triggered a response in Striker. A paternal response, a protective instinct that shouldn't exist but absolutely did. Movement in the clearing. Striker's head snapped up, nose testing the air. The honey badger's eyes locked directly onto their hiding spot. He knows we're here, Kora said. Everyone stay calm. Don't move. Striker made a low sound. His mate immediately grabbed both cubs, ushering them toward the den entrance. But Striker didn't charge, didn't attack. He stood his ground, watching them, evaluating. Then Dr. Sarah Brennan did something that made Thex's heart skip simultaneously. She stood up. Sarah. No. Marcus hissed, reaching for her arm. She gently pulled away. It's okay. I need to do this. She walked forward slowly, hands visible and empty. Kora started to protest, but Thex held up an appendage. Sometimes you had to let humans do human things, no matter how terrifying. Sarah stopped 5 meters from Stryker. The honey badger tensed, ready to attack if necessary. Thank you, Sarah said simply. Her voice carried across the clearing, clear and steady despite the tears streaming down her face. Thank you for saving my son. Thank you for keeping him alive when I couldn't. Thank you for being there when I failed him. Stryker tilted his head, listening. I'm a scientist, Sarah continued. I'm supposed to understand these things. Behavioral patterns, survival instincts, evolutionary advantages. But I don't understand this. I don't understand why you helped Tyler. And honestly, I don't care. I don't need to understand. I just need you to know that I'm grateful. That we're grateful. That if I could give you anything in return, I would. The honey badger made a huffing sound. Not aggressive, almost contemplative. Sarah reached into her pack slowly. Stryker's posture shifted instantly to combat readiness. But she just pulled out something wrapped in cloth and placed it carefully on the ground. Then she backed away. The wrapped item sat in the space between them, offering tribute, respect. Stryker approached cautiously, sniffed the package. Then, using his claws, he unwrapped it carefully. Inside was meat. Fresh, high-quality protein that honey badgers valued. And something else. A small, carved wooden figure that Tyler had insisted on including. A honey badger, rendered in simple strokes by a 6-year-old's hands. Stryker stared at the carving for a long moment. Then he picked up the meat in his jaws and carried it back toward the den. But he left the carving, positioned it carefully near the den entrance where he could see it. He accepted the offering, Vin said, his voice filled with wonder. He understood it was a gift. Marcus was crying now too, not bothering to hide it. Kora had her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. Thex simply watched, recording everything with his implants, knowing this moment would be studied and analyzed for years. The honey badger family disappeared into their den. The clearing fell silent except for the ambient sounds of the rainforest. Birds calling, insects buzzing, wind moving through leaves. Sarah returned to the group, and Marcus immediately pulled her into an embrace. They stood like that for several minutes, holding each other, processing the weight of what had just transpired. We should go, Kora said eventually. Leave them in peace. The trek back to base camp took 3 hours. Nobody spoke much. There was too much to think about, too much to process. Thex spent the time reviewing his recordings, making notes, trying to formulate some kind of coherent analysis. He couldn't. Every time he thought he had a framework, it fell apart under scrutiny. Back at camp, Tyler was waiting with the other researchers who'd been babysitting him. The moment he saw his parents, he ran to them, chattering excitedly about the games he'd played and the stories he'd bought and heard. Did you see him? Tyler asked, bouncing with energy. Did you see Stryker? Is he okay? Are the babies okay? They're perfect, Sarah assured him, kneeling to his level. They're all healthy and safe. And Stryker accepted our gift. He kept your carving by his home. Tyler's face lit up with pure joy. Really? He kept it? I made it special, with all my favorite colors. I wanted him to remember me like I remember him. I don't think he could forget you if he tried, Marcus said, ruffling his son's hair. That evening, the entire research team gathered around the communal fire. It was a human tradition that the aliens had learned to appreciate. Something about firelight made conversation flow differently, made people share truths they might otherwise keep hidden. I've been thinking, Kora said, poking at the flames with a stick, about why this happened, what it means. Enlighten us, Thex said, genuinely curious. Earth is old, she continued. Billions of years of evolution, adaptation, survival, and through all of that, one thing has remained constant. Life protects life. Not always, not predictably, but often enough that it matters. Wolves protecting livestock they were supposed to hunt. Dolphins guiding ships through dangerous waters. Elephants mourning their dead. Humans befriending literally anything that holds still long enough. Your point? Vin asked. My point is that maybe we've been looking at survival wrong. We think it's about competition, about being the strongest or fastest or smartest. But what if that's only half the equation? What if survival is also about connection? About forming bonds that shouldn't work but do anyway? About protecting things that aren't your species, your family, your problem? Dr. Sarah Brennan nodded slowly. Symbiosis, mutualism, cooperative evolution. We see it everywhere in nature. Bees and flowers, cleaner fish and sharks, humans and dogs. Species that succeed together instead of alone. But Stryker and Tyler weren't a symbiotic relationship, Thex argued. Tyler provided nothing of value to the honey badger. He was a burden, a liability. Stryker gained nothing from the arrangement. Didn't he? Kora challenged. Maybe Stryker gained something we can't measure. Satisfaction, purpose, the simple feeling of having done something right. Maybe those things matter more than we think. Thex considered this. His species measured success in quantifiable terms. Resources acquired, territory secured, offspring produced. But humans measured success differently. They valued intangibles, concepts that defied mathematical analysis. Love, honor, compassion, connection. Maybe Stryker valued them too. There's something else, Dr. Marcus Brennan said, pulling up a holographic display from his datapad. We've been monitoring the den site remotely. Very carefully, very discreetly. And we've noticed something interesting. The hologram showed thermal imaging of the area around Stryker's den. Multiple heat signatures representing various animals moving through the territory. Honey badgers are aggressive territorial defenders, Marcus explained. They drive off anything that enters their space. But look at this. He highlighted several signatures. A family of capybaras passing through. A young jaguar, probably the same one that had threatened Tyler, giving the area a very wide berth. Several species of monkeys using the trees overhead. Stryker is still defending his territory, Marcus continued. But he's being selective. The jaguar gets chased off immediately. But other animals, non-threatening animals, he's letting them pass. He's created a safe zone. A space where creatures can exist without fear as long as they don't pose danger. A sanctuary, Sarah whispered. He's made a sanctuary. Because of Tyler, Kora added. Protecting Tyler taught him something. Showed him a different way of existing. And he liked it. He's keeping it. Thex stood abruptly, his appendages clicking in. Agitation. This is too much. Too coincidental. One incident doesn't transform an entire behavioral pattern. Evolution doesn't work that fast. Evolution of the body doesn't, Sarah agreed. But evolution of the mind? That can happen in a heartbeat. One moment of connection, one decision to protect instead of attack, and everything changes. Stryker chose compassion once. And then he chose it again, and again, until it became part of who he is. You're anthropomorphizing, Thex insisted. Assigning human emotions and motivations to an animal that doesn't possess them. Am I? Sarah met his gaze calmly. Or am I recognizing that humans don't have a monopoly on complex emotions? That other species feel deeply even if they express it differently? Commander, you've been on Earth for 15 years. In all that time, hasn't this planet taught you anything about assumptions? It had. It absolutely had. Thex had arrived expecting a primitive world populated by a single sapient species and various unintelligent animals. He'd found instead a complex web of relationships, emotions, and connections that defied every classification system he knew. He'd found humans who talked to their pets as equals, dolphins who deliberately played with swimmers, crows who remembered faces and held grudges across generations, elephants who mourned their dead with rituals as complex as any sentient species. He'd found a planet where the lines between sapient and non-sapient blurred into irrelevance, where what mattered wasn't intelligence measured by technology or language, but connection measured by actions and choices. I hate this planet sometimes, Thex muttered. Kora laughed. No, you don't. You love it. It drives you crazy, but you love it. She was right. He did. 2 weeks later, Thex received confirmation from the Galactic Council. His request had been approved. The region surrounding Stryker's den had been designated a protected research zone. No development, no interference, no disruption of any kind. The honey badger family and their unusual sanctuary would be left in peace, monitored only remotely by automated systems. Tyler had cried when he heard the news. Happy tears, Sarah assured them. The boy visited the site weekly now, always accompanied by adults, always staying at a respectful distance. He left gifts sometimes. Food, water, small carved figures that were slowly accumulating near the den entrance. Stryker never approached during these visits, but the offerings always disappeared. And sometimes, if Tyler was very quiet and very patient, he could see the honey badger watching from the shadows. Protecting. Still protecting. On Tyler's 7th birthday, the family held a small celebration at the research camp. Cake presents human traditions that Thex had learned to appreciate, if not fully understand. In the evening, after the excitement had died down, Tyler approached Thex with something wrapped carefully in paper. I made this for you, the boy said shyly, to say thank you for helping find me, and for protecting Stryker. Thex unwrapped it carefully. Inside was another carving. Not a honey badger this time. A quillroth. Tyler had captured Thex's likeness with surprising accuracy, rendering all 6 limbs and his distinctive head crest in smooth wooden curves. It's beautiful, Thex said, his voice modulator struggling with the emotion he was attempting to suppress. Thank you, Tyler. I will treasure it. Stryker protects things, Tyler said seriously. And you protect things too. That makes you the same. Protectors. My mom says that's the most important thing anyone can be. Such simple wisdom from such a small human. But like most things on Earth, the simplicity concealed profound depth. Thex placed the carving carefully in his quarters that night, positioning it where he could see it while working. A reminder of why he'd chosen to stay. Why he'd declined promotion and excitement, and everything his species valued. Because he'd found something better. He'd found purpose in the connections between species that shouldn't connect, in the stories that shouldn't happen but did anyway. In the moments when compassion triumphed over instinct. Years would pass. Tyler would grow up, become a researcher like his parents, dedicate his life to understanding the bonds between species. Stryker would eventually die, as all creatures do, but his cubs would carry forward the sanctuary he'd created. The patterns he'd established would ripple outward, influencing how other honey badgers in the region interacted with their environment. One small choice to protect a vulnerable creature would echo across generations, and Thex would be there to document it all, to witness the ongoing miracle of a planet where evolution didn't just shape bodies, but hearts, where survival meant more than individual success, where a honey badger could teach the galaxy what it meant to be truly brave, not through fearlessness, not through aggression, but through the simple, revolutionary act of caring for someone who needed help. That was humanity's real superpower, Thex finally understood. Not their technology or their adaptability or their stubborn refusal to quit. Their superpower was that they infected everything around them with their bizarre belief that connection mattered more than survival. And sometimes, just sometimes, creatures like Stryker proved them right.